How are you doing? Spider's back. Yes. Hit it, hit it, hit it. I gotta climb. Come Spider. Red zone rule. Woohoo! I'm a giant spider. Yeah! Red zone. Hit it. Gonna hear you loud, chanting loud in the red zone. At the Grey Cup game, wouldn't that be great in Saskatchewan? 109th Grey Cup in Saskatchewan. We want Spider's CFL Red Zone rule. You imagine that, 33,000 people. But the problem is it's still being silenced by Ambrosi and the CFL because of jealousy and because of ego, because they didn't want to be outdone by me, Spider, a CFL fan, with my CFL Red Zone rule. Read all about it in the Monitor, what it can do. Eliminate the two biggest killers in our game of CFL 3-down football that was on display this weekend in Toronto, in the Eastern Final. Okay, between the Alouettes and the Toronto Argonauts. It was brutal, the amount of second down football stops in the red zone. And they're so unappealing, and they're detested. And they're booing, right? Resulting in more booing because naturally if they're not in the 1 yard line, on the 2 or the 3, the 4 or 5, right up to the 20-yard line in the red zone, they kick another non-eventful, distasteful, predictable, repetitive, boring, easy chip shot field goal. Which my CFL Red Zone rule, okay, will completely eliminate. Both of them completely gone. Remarkably completely gone. What a rule. And guaranteed an 18% increase, okay, of touchdowns in the red zone in the CFL. Can you imagine that? 50 more touchdowns, 200 more points, because you take the spread between an easy chip shot field goal and a touchdown. 4 points if the single point convert is successful. At a 54.8, which, you know, is around the average. You know, it was 51 actually last year. Can you imagine that? 51% average percent of touchdowns scored in the red zone amongst 9 CFL teams in a regular CFL season. That's insane. That's embarrassing because there's so many weak teams. And this year it could be somewhat higher, but it's actually between 50 and 55. It really never goes over 55. With my Spider CFL Red Zone rule, guaranteed at 18%. Okay, it's going to increase, right, by 60%. You know, go to 60%, and could even go to 65%. Can you imagine that? You know, unbelievable. You know, like it's unbelievable that guaranteed 18%. And what that is basically, if the third down's needed with my CFL Red Zone rule, they'll be playing exciting CFL 3-down football to score a touchdown, rather than seeing another easy, boring, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goal. And that average, or what the average was when they were scoring touchdowns in the red zone playing 2-down football, that would increase by 18%, because on the third down, if they average 54.8%, it would be an increase of 18% and more touchdowns scored in the red zone for a total of 50 more points. Okay, times 4 between the spread, single point convert is successful. That's 200 more points in the CFL. Would that sell CFL 3-down football? You damn right it would. And the diagram, my CFL Red Zone diagram with the 20-yard line outlined in red and the number 20 outlined in red in both end zones, and the graphics that TSN could jazz up, and sponsorship tags, and the betting with my CFL Red Zone rule in the red zone of the CFL, because of the drama and excitement and the unpredictability of the outcome, would be the biggest bet and the most lucrative bet for the CFL. And Randy Ambrosi, you know, you should be ashamed of yourself in the CFL. I hate to say it, but the truth is you're pompous, you're deceitful, you lied to me basically. I hate to say it, but it's true. Disingenuous of you to tell me that it was going to be presented to the Innovation Rules Committee. You just push it aside because you know they would outdo your hash mark, Mickey Mouse little hash mark rule that hasn't done anything but cause more 2-and-out sideways passes, more little sideways passes, because the hash marks are narrower. So there's more shorter sideways passes, under 10 yards, resulting in more 2-and-outs. And actually field goals were missed from the 20-yard line. because of and hit the upright because of the narrow hash marks. It's a joke. And Randy Brosey, you're saying that it would make CFL 3-down football, your hash mark rule, the biggest and the best brand of actually professional football in the world, the hash mark rule. What a joke. You must have been smoking hash when you come up with that rule. I'm telling you, seriously. I mean, it's a joke. And saying that it would virtually eliminate 2 and outs, well, it's increased 2 and outs. It's done nothing. And saying you see way more big passing plays downfield for touchdown because of the hash mark rule. What a bunch of baloney, bunch of bullshit, garbage, conning the football fans. You think football fans are that stupid? Okay? The big passing plays that are happening in the CFL for touchdowns are not because of Randy Brosey, your con job, smoking hash pipe hash mark rule. You know, seriously, come on. You must think all the CFL fans are stupid that are so stoned on hash, right? You know, seriously, they smoked hash for 48 hours straight to believe that your hash mark rule has done any of this. It's done nothing. It's done none of it. None of the above. It's garbage. It's a garbage rule. Compare it to my CFL Red Zone rule, you're an embarrassment. It's an absolute joke and a huge snow job. Trying to snow job and con CFL fans and football fans and trying to silence and suppress my CFL Red Zone rule. That's exactly what you're doing. And I'm fighting back. And I may just go on the green zone, okay, during the Grey Cup week, because that's what we're in, Grey Cup week. And I want to tell you something, too, my son sent during the Eastern final. He says, Dad, and I sent it over to Mr. Vanstone at Far-Arlogy, actually what he said. He said it would be so nice to see the announcers. He's talking about TSN/CFL announcers during the Eastern final in Toronto between the Alouettes and the Toronto Argonauts this past weekend. Say if the CFL adopted SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule, we wouldn't see these easy chip shot field goals and fans booing. Well, you're right, my son. You're right, and that's right on the money. So what I did because of that, now as I'll do this as I'm talking to you, because I go to my email. I'm on my Facebook page there. You know, you can. My Facebook page looks great, by the way. You have to sign into Facebook to get on it. You should go on it and you see my full presentation that was supposed to be promised to me by Randy and Brosey to be presented to the CFL Innovation Rules Committee, but they deliberately pushed aside because it would embarrass their Mickey Mouse hash mark rule. Seriously, it's a joke. That rule is an absolute joke. And by the way, the college in college football in Canada, and you'll see in the Vanier Cup in Western, the Mustangs are going against Laval, and then St. X against Huskies, Saskatchewan Huskies. They have narrowed the hash marks. They don't believe in that, smoking hash mark, stone hash mark rule. Seriously, it's a joke. They don't believe it. They didn't change it. And why would they? Why would they? This is a 110, 65-yard field and have like little hash mark rules like this on an outdoor arena football field in the NFL, which is an absolute joke. I'm going to talk about later about their game after watching the Bombers and the BC Lions in the Western Final. Because they happen to turn over and there happen to be an NFL game on. I'll tell you, it's a joke. That little tiny outdoor arena football field, and it's all about hype and money with the NFL. And I talk about Nathan York to go into go to the NFL so quickly because he just uses the CFL. I get that, and my son said you can't blame him. Well, the problem is Randy and Brosey in the CFL. Randy and Brosey belong to the Players Association. That's the problem. And with their one-year contracts, and now 8 Canadian starters guaranteed with their Canadian ratio next year. I'm going to talk about that too in this session. But anyway, so it's unbelievable. And by the way, the flags. That's another problem in the CFL, and they got to clean their act up because it's just crazy the amount of flags. And Brosey does nothing about it. And Brosey, he if you compare Mark Cohen when he was a commissioner to Randy Brosey in his 5-year term. And I can't believe that they would renew his contract. He is a disaster. He's terrible. He's basically almost destroyed the CFL. lied to me about what he was going to do in my CFL Red Zone rule, portrayed me, and he didn't present it to the CFL Innovation Rules Committee, and he hasn't exposed it to all the CFL fans in Canada and all the younger generation sports fans, all the only NFL fans in Canada. That's the mass market. He hasn't exposed it. He suppressed it deliberately because he knows it would make a bloody fool out of his smoking hash pipe hash mark rule. You know, I mean, they must have been stoned out of their minds to come up with that, to believe that that would be the biggest rule ever in the CFL. Oh, it's the worst. And it's not necessary, like Mark Trestman said, it's gimmicky, it's ignoring the real problem with the CFL game, which my CFL Red Zone will take care of and eliminate the two biggest killers in their CFL game in the red zone. People want to see touchdowns scored, not more boring two-down football stops. Imagine that, resulting in more boring, non-eventful, easy chip-shot field goals. No football fan wants to see that, especially in the CFL three-down game. And by the way, CFL wisely adopt my CFL Red Zone rule. They'll never have to talk again about going to 4 downs. Never, never. It would never come up, because you know why? The NFL can't steal my CFL Red Zone rule, because it will unequivocally will not work with 4-down football. It will work naturally and perfectly, like it's tailor-made for CFL 3-down football. Okay? And that's the big thing, because our 3rd down, then my CFL Red Zone will put a real signature on it, and really, you know, like give it meaning and a real signature in our 3-down game. Football. And in the red zone, it would be a bigger and more powerful and bigger and more exciting, more entertaining down than the NFL 4th down in the red zone, because anybody can get a touchdown with 4 downs in the red zone in the NFL. If you can't, you should pack your bags and go home and play minor football. You know, go back and play minor or high school football. It's a joke. But with 3 downs, okay, it's the perfect number of downs in the red zone. So with my CFL red zone rule being an enforcement rule, if the 3rd down is necessary, the CFL teams then will be playing CFL 3-down exciting football with my 3rd down. So it would put a lot of spotlight on my 3rd down, on a CFL 3-down, 3rd down, and in the red zone, and there was so much more the drama around it, and unpredictability, and the excitement, and the entertainment around that, and the betting, and the excitement, and the graphics, and what you could do with the field, like I said, with the diagram on the field, with the CFL Red Zone rule logo, and so forth, and the money they could generate from a CFL Red Zone rule from the business side, it would be phenomenal. So, I mean, compared with these smoking stone hash mark rule, I mean, my CFL rule blows it away, you know, blows out their hash pipes, hash mark rule hash pipes that they use to come up with that rule. Seriously. Okay, let's get, I just want to read what I sent, and I'm so mad, that's why I'm talking the way I am, because I am pissed off, as you can tell. I'm pissed off. You can't blame me that I'm pissed off. You can't blame me at all. So, in this email, okay, that I sent out to Mr. Vanstone and Mr. Farr-Logie and Jamie Nine, and Matt Dunn, I even sent it to him, Glenn Souther, everything. I say CFL Eastern Final 2022 in Toronto, Mr. Vanstone. Here's what my son Timothy, living in Calgary, who has 2 Stampeder season tickets for 16 years, texts me watching the Argos Alouettes Eastern Final in Toronto. And I jazzed it up a bit. After witnessing way too many boring, repetitive, unappealing 2-down football stops in the red zone. Dad, it would be nice and sweet to see the TSN/CFL announcers say, if the CFL wisely adopted SPYDER CFL Red Zone rule, we wouldn't see these boring, predictable, distasteful, non-eventful, repetitive, easy chip shot field goals in the red zone, or slightly outside the red zone, depending on where the 2-down stop was made in the red zone. Nor would we hear CFL fans booing loud, unimpressed, watching CFL teams on offense playing boring and dreadful 2-down football in the red zone. And you know what it results in? More easy, non-eventful chip shot field goals. With both of those would be eliminated with my CFL Red Zone rule. What a huge, gigantic selling feature that would be to sell CFL 3-down football. And they push it aside deliberately, and because of their pompousness, because of their ego, they're so egotistical, and because they didn't want to be outdone because it wasn't their baby. The that they could fully get credit for. They wouldn't want a CFL fan like me, the Spider-Man here, Spider, to outdo the CFL and Randy Ambrosie, would they? Who knows nothing about business, who knows nothing about running the CFL, who knows nothing about marketing and sales, but he hasn't done anything for marketing. You know what, in the Toronto game, they said 21, it's probably more 17, 18, but that should have been full. All they get to do is market it. I bet it, with my CFL Red Zone rule featured and highlighted and promoted in a promotion with CFL football, Eastern finals, regular season games, all the stadiums would soar and roar, and they'd all be filled because of my CFL Red Zone rule. And you've got to get rid of the Canadian ratio. I'll tell you why. That Canadian ratio is an absolute joke. I mean, it's killing the CFL. It's basically what's happening is the CFL players and the Players Association and Randy Ambrosie, the commissioner supposed to be, who belonged to the Canadian Players, fought the CFL in court when they wanted to get rid of the Canadian ratio. You imagine that? So that's why there's guaranteed 8 starters next year, CFL. 8 starters, and actually I think it's going to be 10 because 2 has to be a natural Americanized, natural Canadian or something. It's unbelievable what they did. Randy Ambrosie caused all this, and because he's in bed with the Canadian players. And basically here's what's happening. So the CFL is being run by Randy Ambrosie in bed with the Canadian Players Association, their union, and they're saying, no, owners, we don't want CFL fans or football fans or you to increase your fan base or attract the NFL only fans and young generation fans, because we want what we want for us. We don't care about them. We don't care about the CFL. We want to control the CFL with a union, which they're doing with the Canadian ratio. Because we will never allow the CFL to have the best players, okay? Best players to try out for CFL team. No, because there's got to be 20, 21 actually Canadians and now 8 starters guaranteed on the roster next year. And so what they're saying is that CFL fans, screw you. Football fans in Canada, screw you. Younger generation, NFL, screw you. You always watch NFL because we're never going to allow the best players to play in the CFL. And that's what's happening. So the owners are like they should be blamed too. And Randy Ambrosie's got to go. Okay, he has to go. The owners got to break the union and say, we're going to bring in all the best American players. Screw you guys. If you Canadian players want to try out and make the team, fill your boots. Okay, and if you're good enough, you'll make the team. That's what has to happen. They got to demolish. They got to bring down the Canadian Players Association. Demolish, like now, next year. Just stop the CFL. Say we're not doing this anymore. We're not doing the 7-year contract anymore. This is it. We don't want the Canadian Players Association, the Canadian players running the CFL. We're running the CFL owners. Like the NFL run, like every NBA, NHL, they run they're not dictated by their association, player association, how they run their league, okay? With a ratio, with like a Canadian ratio in the CFL. So it has to change. I'm on a roll. I'll tell you, I'm really pissed off at this, and it's terrible to think this is going. That's why there's so many empty seats, an abundance of empty seats, and because of what's going on in the red zone. I mean, it's unbelievable. The 2 down stops in the red zone where they won't go for it on 2nd and 3rd or 4th or 5th on the 5th yard line or a 5-yard line up to the 20 in the red zone to kick another easy chip shot field goal. That's where you can take advantage and implement my rule and jump on it and go with it. It's a winner. It's a natural. It's tailor-made for a CFL 3-down game. That's there every single CFL game, and it will be in the Grey Cup in Saskatchewan this week. They're every game in the red zone. They're staring the CFL right in the eye, just waiting to be adopted, okay, by the CFL. But no, what's standing in the way is that Randy Ambrosie, okay, and is smoking a hash mark rule that's garbage, right? That's like unbelievable. Like, thinking that rule is doing what he said it was going to do, it's unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. Like, even a 5-year-old kid wouldn't buy that. Wouldn't be that stupid. Anyway, I have to fight back my CFL Red Zone rule, and I have to get on radio. I mean, that's what I think I'm going to try where I have some time now, they maybe work on doing a podcast. I said that earlier, but I haven't really. I started working on it, but I never got to a point that I could start my podcast. But I should have a podcast. I really should, and I should be doing a blitz on radio on my CFL Red Zone. I need to do it because it's got to be heard. It's got to be heard of. You know, just think about that. Look at that diagram on the CFL field with my CFL Red Zone rule and my brochures, okay? My two brochures. You can find that all up my CFL SPYDER CFL Red Zone Rule Facebook page, okay? Okay. I got two different brochures. All the presentations there. My last presentation that I gave that Randy Brosey that was anxious for. They were going to present to the Innovation Rules Committee, and then it got canceled because of the pandemic, and they were supposed to be presented last year. He never presented it, or he just deliberately pushed it aside. They all know about it, and they all know that it will outdo all of their rules combined tenfold. It's so superior, and they know it, and that's why they're suppressing it, and that's why they're silencing it, which is a disgrace. It's a disgrace of them. You know, it's so unprofessional. I'm probably all washed out, but that's the way it is because the sun is blasting in here, but I need to get this done. So if I'm washed out, I'm washed out. I'm a ghost anyway, with so fair, with my little bit of blonde left with my gray hair. But anyway, let's talk about Nathan York, okay? Already, he's going down to the NFL. Imagine, 1-year contracts. And also on the green zone, what was said was really interesting, and I couldn't. It's so true. They're talking about, okay, Bo Levi Mitchell. They traded his rights to Hamilton, but Bo Levi Mitchell was trying to go to the NFL too. He doesn't care about the CFL. He's going to get he's just going to go for money. He says he's not, but he is. He'll probably end up in Saskatchewan to give him more money, or Toronto. I'm not really sold on him anymore. Like I showed him my CFL Red Zone, I was impressed with the 18% give, but he never did it. He never exposed it. I sent him emails. He never did anything. Like no one's doing anything. And by the way, in that email I sent to Mr. Vanstone, I said, who's going to be the hero? Who's going to be the sports writer hero, or the sports broadcaster hero, or the sports media hero? Who's going to be the hero that's going to step up, knows about my CFL Red Zone, especially Mr. Vanstone, who's endorsed it, said the CFL couldn't have written a better script. There's so much ammunition to prove my CFL Red Zone should be made part of a CFL 3-down game. And Mr. Farrar Arnlodgy endorsed it too. And he said he would vote for it. We came for a vote, okay? And he's a TSN CFL reporter and broadcaster. And I really like him. He'd make a good commissioner, actually. And also Steve Armitage, he's a sports legend, and so is Mr. Vanstone. He's a sports legend too. Okay, so, Steve Armitage, who's done like 27 Grey Cups, he endorsed my big time, my CFL Red Zone rule. But you know, so I said, who's going to step up? Because they would gain so much popularity if they exposed my CFL Red Zone rule, where they endorsed it and stamped and approved it. And like to see it made part of a CFL 3-down game, then expose it. I mean, you're sports writers, you're broadcast, but they're scared of the CFL because they make money, you know, because of the CFL, okay, in their jobs, so they don't lose their jobs because Randy Brosey suppressed my rule, deceived me, suppressed my rule when he said he was going to present it at CFL in his Rules Committee. So they're scared of him. That's why they don't want to expose it. But I know it's on the tip of their tongue. Like Farrar and Logie, I know it is, and that's what has to happen. So they would gain a lot of popularity, notoriety for doing this because my CFL Red Zone rule is going to take our CFL 3-down game to a whole new level, and put a real signature, like I said, in a CFL 3-down game. And what's so interesting as well, it's going to create a lot of buzz around CFL 3-down football like never before. My CFL Red Zone rule, and it's going to fill stadiums. It's going to fill CFL stadiums because it's going to make our game like so much more appealing, so much more attractive, and way more entertaining, way more exciting, and full of drama too. You know, it's a powerful, impactful, and it's a real significant rule. I mean, it would be the biggest rule that the CFL ever adopted in the history of the CFL, and probably in all professional football, because the NFL can't steal it. They'd be scrambling if this was to happen. But what has to happen is the CFL fans and the NFL only fans, the younger generation fans in Canada, that mass market has to know about my CFL Red Zone rule, and I know they will love it. Just like the 500 plus I surveyed and be sold on it and behind it want to make part of a CFL three down game. I know, and if you know that, can you imagine if all the CFL fans knew about it in CFL stadiums, in the red zone, when they start booing another 2 and out, okay, 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3 another 2, I'm kicking another easy, non-eventful, easy chip shot field goal. Rather than booing, that we're replacing this booing with loud chanting, we want Spiders CFL Red Zone rule, like the monitor. We want Spiders CFL Red Zone rule. That has to happen. As far as BC Lions, yeah, well you can't blame them, but they use the CFL. They all use the CFL. Raymond York, he uses the CFL, and by the way, if the NFL is so great, why are they taking all the CFL players and the 27 Canadian players, the best, and we got a Canadian ratio? Come on, Canadian ratio's got to go so we can be like every other professional sports team and start and play the best available players. Doesn't matter if they're Canadian, American, Japanese, Korean, okay, whatever, Indian, doesn't matter what they are, okay? We need to see the best players. That's why the NHL is so successful, the NBA, Major League Baseball, okay? We have to do the same. The CFL has to do the same. So we got to get rid of the commissioner. You got to bring down the Canadian Players Association. You got to abolish that union because they're destroying the CFL. They're running the CFL into the ground because they're selfish. They only care about themselves. They don't care if they're not good enough on the field. They don't care. They don't care about how it waters down the CFL and the product on the field. And by the way, CFL teams can't compete. They can't compete on an even playing field because there's not enough good Canadian players to compete for 9 CFL teams with the huge Canadian ratio and now the 8 Canadian starter ratio. It can't happen. Like someone in the Greens, I said that earlier, that he said that there's no way that Saskatchewan Roughriders can develop a quarterback because of the 1-year contracts. And can't develop a good team because of Canadian ratio. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. Take care. Spider, here comes Spider. See if